Yo, what's cracking everyone? Ericship 111 here. Now with Forza Horizon 5 no longer introducing any more newly themed monthly updates, it's quite safe to say that we are most likely not going to see any more new content being introduced into the game either, whether it's new cars, features, or game modes. Now, yes, Playground Games has confirmed that once Forza Horizon 5 launches on the PlayStation this spring, they will introduce one more feature called Horizon Realm, which essentially brings back many of the different evolving worlds that Horizon 5 has had throughout its life, but apart from that, there are no immediate plans to introduce any additional content into the game for the foreseeable future. Now, as we know, Forza Horizon 5 has gone through 43 different updates, which has certainly expanded the game for the better since its launch back in November of 2021, but what are some of the cars, features, and game modes that were perhaps planned during development but never made it into the final game? Well, in today's video, we'll be taking a closer look at all of the cut and deleted content we never got to play in Forza Horizon 5. Starting off with number 1, the Mercedes AMG ONE Forza Edition. So when Forza Horizon 5 was first announced back in E3 of 2021, we got two videos. One was the announcement trailer, while the other was an official gameplay demo. Now, in the official gameplay demo, the creative director for Playground Games at the time specifically stated that the Mercedes they'll be showcasing is the Project One Forza Edition. And if we take a closer look at some of the demo gameplay, as well as the early images released, you can see that this AMG ONE has a special livery applied that is consistent with its real-world counterpart. However, once Forza Horizon 5 launched, although the Mercedes AMG ONE Forza Edition did exist in the Horizon promo, which for those who don't know, basically shows every car that's currently in the game, including non-playable traffic cars and even story mission vehicles to snap photos of, there was no official way to unlock this car. For months, players were desperately trying to get their hands on this, and while you could by using third-party mods, the AMG ONE Forza Edition was still missing the livery scene from its early gameplay demo. Unfortunately, a few updates later, the car was quietly removed from the Horizon promo, deleting any remaining traces. This indicates to me that Playground Games never had any real plans to feature this car in the final release of Horizon 5, and I say this because at the end of the announcement trailer, and even when pre-orders began, the box art for Forza Horizon 5 was never revealed, which was certainly unusual because if we look back at previous Forza Horizon announcement trailers, we knew exactly what the box art looked like and we knew what the cover car was. But for Horizon 5, it wasn't until a couple of months later at Gamescom when Playground Games finally revealed the hero car, which was indeed the AMG ONE, along with the official box art. My only speculation is that perhaps around the time of E3, the license to use the AMG ONE was not completely finalized, therefore Playground Games had to compromise by referring the AMG ONE as the Forza Edition. Number 2, drag lights. So back in Forza Horizon 4, on the drag strip next to the main Horizon Festival site, you will see proper drag lights to simulate an authentic drag racing experience. Now, you would imagine with Forza Horizon 5 being the newer and bigger title, you would see the same thing, but unfortunately, we don't. Where are the drag lights? Well, at one point, they did indeed exist. In fact, here is some gameplay featuring the lights when I was fortunate enough to get my hands on a first preview and a review version of Horizon 5. Now, I don't exactly know when these lights were removed, but I do know it was very early on, perhaps just right after the launch of Horizon 5 in this November 17th patch. Why did they get removed? Well, although Playground Games did not reveal the proper reason, many speculations within the community suggested that the lights were just simply not able to sync up for all players out in free roam, thus making the lights completely redundant. But this also played an additional role in changing the start screen of Horizon 5 too. When the game launched, this was the official start screen. Now, to the naked eye, you may not see this any differently in comparison to the current official start screen. screen. However, if we put the two side by side, then the changes become more apparent. You can see that in the original version, the camera pans in faster, the focal length of the shots are much wider, the Mercedes AMG ONE is also driving on the drag strip, a couple of NPC cars are different too, but the most notable difference is the drag racing scene, where there are indeed drag lights present. Sadly, the original version of the startup screen no longer exists and will never be seen in Horizon 5 again. Number 3, drag racing story. Now, even though drag lights didn't stay in Forza Horizon 5 very long, it seemed like Playground Games were looking to reintroduce the lights back in at some point, but for this we have to take a look at a Horizon story called Icons of Speed. Introduced on July 20th of 2023 back in Series 23, this 8-chapter series features you driving some extremely fast cars from their respective eras like the Napier Ralton, a fully souped up Toyota Supra, all the way to a Hennessy Venom F5, and the storyline essentially revolves around Alejandra, the head mechanic of the Horizon workshop, who ran these monthly races to give her apprentices a chance to showcase their work and skills. However, recently she got beaten by one of her own apprentice called Aurelio in a drag race, which left her feeling livid. Throughout the story, Alejandra also mentions her other apprentices from her Horizon workshop like Katie, Hina, and Matteo, while also trying to further understand the true definition and meaning of speed in cars. But ultimately, the one thing she wants is a rematch against Aurelio, which she actually does set up just prior to the Hennessy Venom F5 chapter. But upon actually doing that specific chapter, Alejandra says that Aurelio's happy to race at any time, he's excited about the rematch and doesn't care who wins or loses. He's just happy to race, which then left Alejandra feeling conflicted about the entire situation. Was she wrong about wanting revenge on Aurelio? Which then leads us into the final chapter with the Rimac Nevera, where you race against all of the cars you have driven throughout the Icons of Speed story and against all of Alejandra's apprentices except for Aurelio. The story ends by Alejandra mentioning that she can't wait for next month's races and that Aurelio and the others have already started tuning up their cars. And that's it. I mean, what's the point of this story even existing if Alejandra never got her revenge in the final drag race battle? Well, it turns out that the Icons of Speed story was originally meant to be about Alejandra and Papa Fernando's drag car, the 1968 Dodge Dart, to help introduce a brand new drag racing zone into the Horizon Festival called History's a Drag. We know this because an extremely credible data miner over at GT Planet, known as TGR55, leaked the entire dialogue script almost 6 months ahead of Series 23, where in the leaked initial dialogue, Alejandra introduces how this new drag zone works. It features a marked box as a starting area next to the returning new drag lights. Stop for 3 seconds, then the lights will activate, and once the lights turn green, the race begins. If you miss the start, the lights will recycle again. But what's also interesting is that many of the cars featured in the Icons of Speed story were also included in this original dialogue. Cars like the Napier Ralton, the 1932 Ford Deluxe Coupe, the Toyota Supra, the Rimac Nevera were all already etched into the story, but instead of racing from point A to point B, we would battle them in a drag race to unlock more drag racing locations. The story ultimately ends by you drag racing in Papa Fernando's Dodge Dart against a series of high horsepowered cars, which at the time were not in the game yet, like the Lamborghini Huracan STO and the Chevy Camaro Pro Stop. Honestly, this History's a Drag story sounded so much better than the Icons of Speed, as not only it would have brought back the drag lights, but it would have expanded the depth of drag racing in the Horizon series, which has been incredibly bland for such a long time. But that's not all. Several months later, additional icons were also discovered within the hidden files, suggesting that drag racing would become PR stunt events with additional seasonal and event icons. This does make complete sense if the original drag story was introduced, as then it could finally finally become a feature that would be completely dynamic out in free roam. Number 4, unused car thumbnails. So throughout the life of Horizon 5, we have seen quite a few cars missing from previous Forza Horizon games, only for them to appear back into Horizon 5 in a non-playable state. We've seen this numerous times, especially throughout the festival playlist, with cars like the Hudson Hornet, the Lotus Evora S, and the TVR Tuscan S, as well as promotional content such as the Porsche 928 over on Porsche's official Instagram. However, there are several official thumbnails of hidden cars that never made it into the game either. We have the 1957 Ford Thunderbird, which was last seen in Forza Motorsport 4, the 2012 Chrysler 300 SRT8 that was last featured in Motorsport 7 and Horizon 3, the 2010 Porsche Boxster S that was not only last featured in Motorsport 4, but it briefly appeared as a traffic car in a trailer featuring the introduction of several Chinese vehicles. We also have the 2013 Audi R8, which was last seen in Motorsport 5, the 1995 Honda CRX Del Sol SIR, which I certainly had high hopes for, but still missing since Motorsport 4, the 1971 Plymouth GTX 426 Hemi, which was last featured in Motorsport 7 and Horizon 2, the 2006 Ford GTX 1, an extremely rare car that has only ever been featured once throughout the entire Forza franchise, and that was the original Forza Horizon, the 2017 Subaru Crosstrek Desert Racer, a new to Forza car that Playground Games even included in their early concept art for the Rally Adventure expansion, the 1939 Chevrolet C1500 Brass Monkey Barrett Jackson, which I believe would have been new to Forza, along with the 2009 Land Rover Defender PayPal Edition. You can also see some of the cars mentioned in the alternate thumbnail format, with several additional unused cars like the Volvo 123 GT, the Peugeot 308 GTI, the 2013 Ford F-150 SVT Raptor Shelby, and the 2009 Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT8. All of these thumbnails were leaked very early on, literally just after the launch of Horizon 5, and it's quite unfortunate that none of these cars made it into the final game, even after 43 updates later. Number 5, unused barn finds. As I'm sure most of you are aware, Forza Horizon 5 is the most accessible game out of the entire Horizon series. Playground Games have done this by incorporating additional features so that anyone can enjoy the game to its fullest, which I totally respect. And one of those features include American and British sign language interpreters available in all cutscenes for the hearing impaired. Now, you might be wondering, how does this relate to barn finds? Well, according to the Admeister from GT Planet, who again, much like TGR55, has been a very credible source for all Horizon 5 leaks, discovered that an additional hidden sign language video file was secretly added after Update 5, where the folder name suggests that the 1986 Ferrari 288 GTO Evolution was going to be introduced as an additional barn find. But on top of that, 2 more additional barn find sign language files were found too, suggesting that both the 1910 Fiat S76 Beast of Turin and the 1968 Hurst Shifters Baja Boot were planned to be featured at some point as well. Number 6, Eliminator Duos. Now, one of Forza Horizon 5's biggest game modes is of course known as the Eliminator. In fact, Playground Games prioritized this mode so much that the entire main map was designed solely to facilitate the Eliminator, hence why it's so wide, open and boring. And it seemed as though after Horizon 5's launch, there were even more plans to expand on the Eliminator into a more team-based environment called the Eliminator Duos. We know this because a series of audio files directly spoken by Romero himself were discovered within the hidden folders in which we can all listen to. Here are a few examples.
Your teammate has been eliminated! They are spectating you now! What'd you get? Nice! You know there's a limited edition Eliminator car, right? You haven't seen it yet? Just have to keep playing then, won't you? Oh, what's this? The Eliminator series! Introducing duels, where you race with a friend. We've got a new progression system, and Aleja has changed the cars. Go check them out in the Eliminator garage.
Now, there are around 20 or so files to listen to. I won't play them all in this video, but from what I can gather, it seems like there was going to be a monthly series called the Illuminati, where the Eliminator Duos game mode was going to be introduced. There would also be a completely brand new leveling up system and rewards, including custom liveries for your starting Eliminator cars. But the most interesting thing is that there was a limited edition Eliminator car that could be unlocked. Now, whether the car was available specifically for the game mode itself is still unknown, and as much as myself not being the biggest fan of the Eliminator, I would have loved to have seen how far Playground Games developed this update. Maybe some gameplay footage would be pretty cool to see. It must have been pretty close to completion if they had Romero doing the voiceovers. But what do you think? Number 7, Donut Media 3.0. So there has been 2 Donut Media themed monthly updates. The first was back in Series 14, where a new Donut Media Horizon story was introduced. The story itself was nothing more than just a beta test for the Horizon Test Track feature, which would then be featured several months later. But overall, a very lackluster update with no actual Donut Media content other than the host appearing as guests. And the second Donut Media update featured another Horizon story called High-Low, which was certainly far more compelling. It actually featured numerous cars from Donut Media, including the Supervan 3 Donut Media Edition, the Formula Drift number 51 Donut Media Nissan 240SX, and both their official Nissan 350Zs from the High-Low series that can be watched on YouTube. And it seemed as though Donut Media was going to continue being a part of Horizon 5, more specifically in a form of a brand new car pack. This was revealed by Donut Media themselves in a now privated podcast in which they state,
we've been under NDA for a long time, and this is a perfect time to announce that Nolan, me, Job, Jer, and Justin are all going to be in a Forza DLC pack. You can drive high car, low car, the money pit cars, high truck, low truck, all of our stuff. Yeah, an entire Donut Media downloadable pack for Forza Horizons. So that's coming out in August or September. And yeah, super stoked. They scanned our faces.
From what Donut Media themselves revealed in comparison to what we got in Horizon 5, it's obvious that at least several more Donut Media cars were originally planned. Of course, there are the Money Pit cars, which was a series where they would purchase a cheap used car, spend a whole lot of money modifying and learning the ins and outs of the vehicle just to drive them fast. This series could have included cars like the Mazda MX-5, the BMW E36 Sedan Rally, the Ford Ranger, or perhaps even the K-swapped EG Civic. But that's not all. They even mentioned their high-low trucks that were going to be featured too, which are both the Toyota Tacomas. And honestly, with off-roading being such a huge part of Horizon 5, I can easily see cars like their high-low trucks and their final builds for their Money Pit Ford Ranger and E36 sedan. Now, there are certain speculations as to why we never got to see any more Donut Media content after Series 22. Could it be because Playground Games wanted to space out the content, so much so that it ended up backfiring, and by the time Playground Games were ready to bring the cars in, several Donut Media hosts left soon after? We don't exactly know at this point, but we can only imagine. Number 8, hidden body kits. There has been a handful of cars throughout the life of Forza Horizon 5 that were originally planned with a lot more visual customizations once they were introduced. The cars included the Toyota Sora, the 2022 Subaru BRZ, the Hyundai i30N, the Nissan Stagia, the Hyundai Kona N, and the 2003 Ford SVT Mustang. Now, many of these body kits were discovered using third-party mods, where data miners were able to extract the entire model of these body kits for us to see. For the Toyota Sora, you can see that there is a BN Sports wide body kit available. There's also a duck and roof spot spoiler by KFD team, the Nissan Stagea with a full Autech body kit preset, the 2003 Ford Mustang with a full Roush wide body kit, the Hyundai i30N with prior design's full wide body kit, the Kona N not only had one body kit preset from prior design, but it also featured another one from Magna Tuning, which would have easily made this car far more desirable to unlock, and of course the SARD GT1 kit for the BRZ, which is a leak I have covered several times in the past, where the SARD logo was discovered within the hidden folders of Horizon 5, as well as the SARD spoiler itself seen on the BRZ in a Forza Motorsport event poster. But more importantly, Playground Games even showed the SARD rear wing in one of their Let's Go live streams. So I have no doubt that all of these hidden body kits that were leaked are indeed legit. Whether they were deliberately not introduced so that it could be saved for the next Horizon title remains to be seen. That way it gives the developers more content to bring forward for the next title. Number 9, Hot Wheels expansion. If you ever look at some of the early trailers or initial drive for the Hot Wheels expansion, there's two things you'll notice. The first are the magnetic tracks. In all of the early footage, you can see that they are incredibly detailed and shiny, whereas in the final version, they just simply look plain and dull. Now, the reason for the change is most likely due to performance issues. With Forza Horizon 5 being so well optimized, I don't believe they wanted to hinder those playing on an older system just for a bit of visual enhancements. And the other are these 3 loops seen in the announcement trailer. Nowhere in the final game do these 3 loops exist, which makes me wonder, was the challenge in the Hot Wheels expansion to drive through 3 loops in under 2 minutes supposed to be for this? Because I can remember very vividly saying to myself, where are all these different loops? Sure, you want to make it somewhat challenging, but don't break the flow of the player. So, a bit like the drag lights in Forza Horizon 5, unfortunately, these 2 features did end up being deleted in the final game. Number 10, the Maserati MC20. I was debating whether or not I should feature this in today's video, as the car was really only leaked twice. Once back in August of 2023 by TGR55, it was part of a leaked list of cars that at the time were not featured in Forza Horizon 5. As you can see, the cars discovered are now all in the game except for one, the Maserati MC20. And for months upon months, we were all speculating that perhaps the European Automotive Update will finally introduce this car. No, maybe the Apex All-Stars, Modern Horizons. Well, in the end, the car was never introduced. It was the one car leak that I truly believe brought the entire community together, with many players asking, when is the MC20 going to be introduced? Now, the intriguing thing is that we did see an image of the MC20 over on Forza Motorsport in one of their event posters, which was then quickly replaced by the Pininfarina Battista. And of course, we know that the Battista was introduced as part of the European Automotive Car Pack back in Series 31, where speculations have been made that this car pack was originally supposed to feature the MC20 instead of the Pininfarina. So there we have it, guys. Have I missed out on anything? If I did, make sure to share them down in the comment section below, as I do read all of your comments, guys, and who knows, maybe there could be a part 2. But anyways, if you guys did enjoy today's video, please make sure to smash the thumbs up button, as it really does help me out. And of course, if you guys would like to stay up to date with more Forza Horizon 5 content, please be sure to subscribe with notifications turned on, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.